Let's piss some people off.
There's a very strange part of growth that nobody really prepares you for. It's the moment when you realize you can't comfortably go back anymore. Not because you think you're better than people, not because you suddenly hate everyone, but because something inside of you changed after you finally experienced peace, clarity, emotional safety, or even just silence. And now, certain things that used to feel normal feel exhausting. The inconsistency feels louder. The emotional chaos feels heavier. The over explaining feels painful. And the version of you that used to tolerate all of it so easily starts feeling farther away. That's the weird part about growth. You don't just change mentally, your body changes what it's willing to carry. Hi, and welcome back to I Am Spice, the podcast. This is where we talk about the real things, the things people feel deeply but don't always know to explain out loud. If you're new here, welcome. And if you've been here already, then you already know the energy. Take a second to subscribe, like, and share this episode with someone who might need this conversation. Because I genuinely think this is one of those episodes that hits differently depending on where you are emotionally in life. And honestly, today I just want to talk to you like we're sitting together. No performance and no pretending everything about healing is beautiful all the time. Just a real conversation. Because I think one of the loneliest feelings in the world is realizing that you've changed internally, but your external life hasn't fully caught up yet. And that creates the weird emotional disconnect where you start noticing things differently. Like, have you ever sat in a conversation and suddenly felt emotionally tired? Not because somebody did something huge, but because your body just couldn't handle the energy anymore. Or maybe somebody said something that normally wouldn't have affected you before, but now it feels heavier. Not dramatic, just exhausting. And I think that's what happens once your nervous system experiences peace for real. Not fake peace, not avoidance, not numbness, real peace. The kind where you don't feel anxious all the time. The kind where you don't feel like you have to chase. The kind where you don't feel emotionally responsible for everybody around you. Once your body experiences that, it remembers it. And after that, chaos hits differently. That's something nobody really talks about enough. People always say things like heal, choose yourself, set boundaries, but they don't talk about what happens after. Because after awareness comes grief. And I know people don't like hearing that part because everybody wants healing to feel empowering all the time. But honestly, sometimes growth feels heartbreaking first because you start realizing how much of yourself you abandon just to keep certain relationships, certain dynamics, certain versions of yourself alive. And then one day your body just can't do it anymore. You can't comfortably over explain anymore. You can't comfortably beg for emotional understanding anymore. You can't comfortably stay quiet about things that hurt you anymore. You can't comfortably pretend certain behaviors don't affect you anymore. And the hardest part is that the people around you sometimes think you're the one changing too much. But from your perspective, you're finally becoming honest. And I think that's why this stage feels so lonely sometimes, because the old version of you was easier for people to access. The old version of you tolerated more, explained more, adjusted more, overextended more, stayed longer, carried more emotional weight. And when you stop doing that, the people feel that shift immediately. Even if you've never announced it, even if you never say a word, people can feel when you stop abandoning yourself. And honestly, I think that's why some relationships get uncomfortable during growth because not everybody was connected to the real you. Some people were connected to the version of you that overfunctioned emotionally, the version of you that kept the peace, the version of you that absorbed everything quietly, the version of you that made everybody else comfortable while slowly disconnecting from yourself. And once you become aware of that, you can't unsee it. That's the crazy part about awareness. Once you truly see something, you cannot comfortably participate in it the same way anymore. And I think that's where a lot of people are right now emotionally. They're not confused, they're aware. There's a difference. You're not too sensitive. You're noticing things your survival mode once normalized. And survival mode can make dysfunction feel familiar. It can make inconsistency feel exciting. It can make emotional unavailability feel normal. It can make overgiving feel like love. It can make anxiety feel like chemistry. Until one day, your body gets tired, and then suddenly peace starts feeling more attractive than intensity. And let me tell you something that changes everything. Because once peace starts feeling better than emotional chaos, your entire life starts shifting. Your friendships change, your relationships change, your conversations change, your tolerance changes, your reactions change, even your silence change. So you stop feeling the need to fill every quiet moment, and that's another thing nobody prepares you for. The silence. The silence after growth can feel so uncomfortable at first, because when you stop constantly reacting, constantly chasing, constantly fixing, constantly proving yourself, life gets quieter. And in that quietness, you finally hear yourself clearly. That's the part that changes you forever, because now you start asking yourself questions you avoided before. What do I actually want? What actually drains me? Why did I tolerate certain things for so long? Why did I confuse emotional exhaustion with love? Why do I feel guilty for having boundaries? Why do I feel uncomfortable when things are calm? And those questions can feel heavy, but they're necessary, because that's where self awareness turns into self trust. Not overnight, not perfectly slowly, in the small moments, in the text you don't send, in the explanation you stop rehearsing in your head, in the boundary you keep even when it feels uncomfortable, in the moment you choose peace over proving your point. That's real growth, not performing healing online, not pretending to be unbothered, not becoming emotionally cold. Real growth is awareness. It's noticing yourself in real time and choosing differently anyway. And honestly, I think that deserves more credit, because people celebrate dramatic transformation, but they don't talk enough about quiet transformation. The kind where nobody claps for you. The kind where your entire inner world changes privately. The kind where you sit there realizing, I can't go back to being who I used to be anymore. And I think that's the part that catches people off guard the most. Realizing that sometimes the hardest thing to let go of isn't even the relationship, the friendship, or the situation itself. Sometimes the hardest thing to let go of is the version of you that existed inside of it. Because even if that version of you was exhausted, even if that version of you was overgiving, even if that version of you was emotionally starving, she was familiar, and familiarity can feel emotionally safer than transformation sometimes. That's why people go back, not always because the situation is healthy, but because the identity attached to it felt known. And when you start evolving emotionally, there's this weird in between stage where you don't fully fit your old life anymore, but you also haven't fully settled into the new version of yourself yet. And honestly, that stage can feel lonely as hell, because you're not who you used to be, but you're still becoming who you're meant to become. So now you're sitting there in this emotional hallway between identities, and that hallway is uncomfortable. That's where people start questioning themselves. Am I becoming too distant? Am I overreacting? Am I changing too much? Why do I suddenly need more space? Why do certain conversations exhaust me now? And the answer is usually not that you're becoming cold, it's that your nervous system is becoming honest. I think a lot of us spent years emotionally adapting to environments that were never actually good for us. We adapted to inconsistency, adapted to emotional neglect, we adapted to feeling misunderstood, adapting to carrying relationships emotionally, adapted to survival mode. And when survival mode is all you know, peace can actually feel unfamiliar at first. That's why some people sabotage calm situations. That's why some people panic when things get quiet. That's why some people run back to chaos, because chaos may be unhealthy, but it's familiar. And the nervous system will always try to return to what feels familiar before it learns what actually safe. And honestly, I think that realization changes you forever, because now you understand that healing is not becoming a different person overnight. Healing is slowly teaching your body that peace is safe too. And that takes time, especially if your body spent years associating love with anxiety, attention with inconsistency, or connection with emotional exhaustion. That's why this part requires patience with yourself, because some days you feel grounded and clear, and other days you're gonna feel tempted to go backwards just because backwards feels familiar. And that does not mean you're failing. It means you're human. It means your nervous system is trying to relearn life without survival mode running everything. And honestly, that deserves compassion, not shame. Because this version of you, the one becoming more aware, the one becoming more honest, the one becoming more emotionally grounded, she's not weak. She's no longer willing to betray herself for comfort. And yes, that changes people. Yes, that changes relationships. Yes, that changes you. But that doesn't mean you're going backwards. It means you finally felt something real enough that you can no longer abandon yourself comfortably. And once that happens, you just cannot feel it. So if this episode sat with you, don't ignore it. Sit with it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe, like it, and share this episode with somebody who needs this conversation. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Love you bunches.
And remember, we're unfiltered, unapologetic, and unstoppable. That's that.